Hi, welcome back to Cannabis with Kim. I am Kim, and this is the cookie butter recipe that I promised I would be doing again, because the more I do these recipes, the more I mess with them. And this version for this video, now I'm not sure if I'm going to do the two different videos, but this one today is going to be Kim's super healthy cookie butter recipe. Now, is that possible? Yes, we're going to make it as healthy as we can. Now, I know I've done it with other stuff before. Cereal is usually how I cut. And today I'm going to be cutting it with this kind healthy grains, the cinnamon oat granola with flax seeds, high in fiber, high in protein, super greens. So I decided to do this, and I put in a cup because I'm going to make a pretty large recipe. So I put in a cup, which 2/3 of a cup is 240 calories. So a full cup would be around 350. So I did that, but the stats are, again, great because we're looking at like over 10 grams of fiber. We've barely got, there's not a ton of extra sugar in it. And it calls for brown sugar, so this would be instead. And then also protein, so there would be around 6 or 7 grams of protein as well by adding this. And I just smashed it. I ran it with, if you have a Cuisinart, that's the best way to go. Just obviously pulverize it, and you can see there's little flecks in there. That's obviously the oats that are left over in there, which I don't mind. It'll give it a little bit of texture, no big deal. So then the next step, what I did was, after I ground that up really fine, I took, now I know I've told you before in my other videos on this, you can get this huge box with 4 of these 8.8 ounce. These are the Biscoff. These are the official cookie butter. They say use ginger snaps. There's all different kinds of recipes, but this is the original. They're, obviously Belgian, and that's where you used to only be able to get cookie butter. Okay. And they use this. So yes, it's not the healthiest recipe because it's made with cookies, but that's what I'm trying to do here. And I'm going to tell you a little bit something that I've never done before, which is adding this plant-based protein with mushrooms. So, I'm now branching into mushrooms. So the other thing is, of course, is instead of using this bourbon vanilla extract, I made my own vanilla extract. It's been in here brewing for over a year. So it's just really high-end vodka and vanilla beans that have been cut open, and you can see all the vanilla bean at the bottom. So you shake it up, and that we will use in here as well. So where's the dosed part? Well, it calls for coconut oil. So it'll be 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, which is dosed, and I'm using indica. And of course, I have some decarbed flour. And so therefore, I think I'm going to sprinkle some of the decarbed flour in because it blends really well in this. It adds extra milligrams for dosing, as well as it is not adding extra fat. So just sticking with the recipe when it comes to fat. Now, I have in the past infused the milk. And I am, in fact, going to infuse the milk. I'm decarbing some flour right now to infuse this milk. And remember, the higher the fat, that's why I went with vitamin D. The higher the fat, the more absorption of the cannabinoids. So this milk in this one is virginal. I'm not going to infuse it. I instead am going to put an extra teaspoon of decarbed shake in there for an extra little milligram boost. But in my next batch, I'm going to infuse the milk with the decarbed flour, and that will be milk dosage and coconut oil infused dosage. So, like I said, you can make anything as potent as you want or as light as you want. Because again, if you're making this and you're making it for friends or holiday, or you don't need the milligram dosage that us higher dosers need, then by all means use, 1 tablespoon of dosed and 1 tablespoon of plain coconut oil. And that's fine. You know what I'm saying? So always dose for your needs. And I dose heavy. I have needs. So, okay, back to the recipe. All right. So that's a little sidebar. I'm always advising. So here's what I did. 1 cup of the kind. You didn't have to do that. And then 1 of these. Now, really, the recipe calls for only 8 ounces of the cookies. But, okay, so I put an extra 0.8 of an ounce in there. And I threw in a cup of this, like I said, instead of extra brown sugar. So putting in a little bit of protein. And then I didn't put in a full scoop. So let's talk about this protein that I put in here, because I just wanted to make it a little bit healthier. And a girlfriend of mine turned me on to Four Sigmatic for their mushroom coffee, because they have chaga, lion's mane, collagen, I believe. So yeah, I have that too, but that's another day. But anyway, so then when I went on their website to get more of it, I found their Defend plant-based protein. It's immune supporting. It's got the mushrooms and the adaptogens. So this is sweet vanilla, and you can see it's got 1,500 milligrams per serving. Now, it's without gluten, soy, dairy, 18 grams of protein, no gums, no filler, real vanilla. That's our theme for the day, right? Real vanilla. So here's the stats. I absolutely did not use a scoop, okay? I did about 1/3 of a scoop, which is about, I'm going to say about 75 calories. Okay, so I did about 1/3 of everything. So I just wanted you to see there's protein, calcium, iron. The sodium is low. Prefer it not to be there at all, but potassium. And then we have superfood protein blend. So pea protein, hemp, chia, pumpkin, coconut. Okay, so we've got a lot of good stuff. We've got really good mushrooms in there. Obviously, they're using fruiting body, and anybody that is studying mushrooms knows that that's what you're trying to strive for. So far, I like their products. It's obviously organic, and it's gotten some pretty decent ratings behind it. It seems pretty positive company. So I decided to go with them and try throw their stuff on the floor. So try their products. And anyway, so today, this is not obviously, I'm not telling you to run out and buy it, just telling you what I did in case you're curious. So, so I decided to use some of that because, again, it's cookies. So I'm trying to get my fiber, protein, mushrooms, anything that's a positive. Cinnamon's good for us. Coconut oil is good for us. Cannabinoids are good for us. I use grass-fed milk. So just trying to do everything as best I can when I make naughty food. All right, so what did I do? I ground everything up. This has got the cookies. This has got the granola really fine. This has already cinnamon in there. And then I am going to sprinkle in the decarbed flour, the shake. So just gonna, well, it just kind of clumped in one area, didn't it? We'll just toss that around a bit, and it'll obviously blend up in there because that's not much. A teaspoon is not much compared to what I've got in here. So remember, I've got this package, so that's almost 9 ounces, and about a cup of the kind granola. All right. So it calls for 1/4 cup of milk, but I figure because of the fact that I put this extra in there, I just went with 1/3 cup, just about 1/3. So I'm going to put a touch of this vanilla in there, and then I'm going to pour in the milk over the top, and I'm going to blend it a little bit before I add in the coconut oil, because I want it to get kind of some level of binding going, you know what I mean? So, all right. To add more milk since I went rogue with the, protein and of course the kind granola. So I think I'm going to add, I know I added, instead of 1/4 cup, I put in 1/3 almost. It wasn't quite a full 1/3 cup. So I think I'm just going to, because, I always kind of play it by ear when I'm doing my recipes. So let's just get this started. I'm going to add a little bit more because I want to get this a little bit more moist to start binding it together. Oh. Okay, so now a little bit more. Looking like a dough. So I think definitely I'm going to have to add more milk in there, because obviously you can see it kind of dough'd up. But I'm also going to get this coconut oil. Okay, done this enough times to eyeball and know to, sorry about that, I pulled it away so I could eyeball it. But yeah, so eyeballed about 2 tablespoons in there. 2 hands, you can get obviously more exact. And I'm just going to do a little splashy of the milk since I got the top open. And now eyeball it, okay? So, I mean, that's how I do my recipes when I, Kim going rogue. So we're getting a much nicer, smoother consistency in there. See? I'm splashing, making a mess all over the place. So let's take a look. All right, let's see. I'm going to use this spoon to kind of move it around. So it's kind of thick. All right, let's get a taste. Oh my. Yeah. See, the only problem with this recipe is trying not to eat too much of it, so that it just end up like passed out on the couch. Which, don't get me wrong, if your goal is to be passed out on the couch, this recipe is for you, my friends. All right, I'm going to put a touch more of the oil. And yeah, that's the other thing is I just kind of eyeball it by my jars. I know that my jars carry approximately, usually, somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 milligrams for every jar. So I usually approximate it, normally when I'm doing my own recipe, I know how many milligrams are in my jar. This one was a pretty high dosed indica batch. The second batch that I'm going to make sure I got CBG in it as well. But like this flour is decarbed. So do I remember really how much? No, I just know the measurements that I put in are approximate. So that's for me. Always remember that. You should be more exact and know your numbers if you're dosing. But if you're like me and you're just, flying by the seat of your pants and your approximate dosages because, you do this, then by all means, do what I do. But I don't measure when I cook, so it's the same thing. I'm not a good baker because of that. That's why I use like box mixes, and my stuff doesn't always turn out, fluffy like it should because of let's add flax seeds, So I'm always doctoring it up. Oh, what a mess this poor thing is. You can see there's some backsplash of the oil, fragga-smagga. Just a touch, but again, that's dosage that I splashed. Oh, this looks gorgeous, my friends. This looks gorgeous. So let's take a look at the consistency. Oh, yes. That's lovely. Yeah. So, yeah, this turned out fantastic, and it smells so good. It's just, these cookies are fantabulous, and these kind are a real compliment. So, as always, enjoy and happy dosing.